let's go. Let's do it. The return of the great departed soul.
19世紀末、大帝都ロンドンで開催された万国博覧会を知らぬ者はないだろう。世界の文化、最新の科学技術がハイドパークの特設会場に集められた。来場者総数5000万人を超えた今世紀最後にして最大の祭典は、全世界の人々に強烈な印象を刻み込み、大成功のうちに終わったのだった。しかしその会期中に起きたあの大惨事の真相解明の裏側に、我が友シャーロック・ホームズの活躍があったことを知る者は少ない。彼はあの大事故の裏に幾重にも隠された真実を暴き出したのである。ハイドパークにそびえ立ったロンドン万国博覧会の象徴ともいえるあの水晶塔のごとき孤高にして凍結した名推理によって、
ロンドン万国博覧会、会場はあふれんばかりの人だかり。
Alright, let me turn the sound back down. Okay. We're here at the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people.
ロンドンには珍しい晴天のもと、驚異の科学実験が行われようとしています。
Weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment.
来るべき20世紀、蒸気機関と電気技術は世界を制する。
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world.
姿を消し、自動車が行き交う。海を渡る船は羽を持ち、大空を飛ぶ。
Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and take to the skies.
本日は皆様にさらに遠い未来の実験をお目にかけましょう。
And today we showcase even more advanced technology, a glimpse into the future.
超電気式瞬間移動技術。世界で初めての実験であります。
Oh, I just realized. Well, actually, I don't know if he's British, but a world first, a demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine. Is it already in the 1900s? I'm not sure. Because I think this is a reference to the first Great Exhibition. Let's see. First one I'm getting is 1851. Oh yeah, so the Great Exhibition of the Works. I think that's the first one. Let's see. The Great Exhibition of the Works of the Industry of Nation, also known as the Great Exhibition. The international exhibition that took place in Hyde Park, London. It was the first in a series of World's Fairs. Yeah, so the first one took place in 1851. A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high voltage electricity and be beamed to another location. Whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations, exactly as it was before. Oh, that's the guy being experimented on. Uh-oh. In but a few moments from now, this gentleman will, in a blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air, to arrive an instant later onto the crystal tower behind you. It's one of my favorite voice actors, Japanese voice actors. Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it's him. It definitely sounds like him. I thought it was 1887 in the last case. Oh. 22nd October, 9:36 a.m. Sholmes' suite.
Runo, are you listening?
Oh, sorry, what was that, Iris?
What's the matter with you? You've been miles away all morning. Didn't you like what I cooked for breakfast?
No, that's not it at all. What were we talking about again?
Today's paper. It's full of news about the Great Exhibition again.
Ah, yes, the Great Exhibition. I'd like to go sometime.
You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down. Don't you agree, Hurley?
Oh, no. Did you say something? Iris.
Oh gosh, you're even more down.
When did you arrive, Mr. Naruhodo?
I've been here for about half an hour already. We had breakfast together.
What? Why didn't you mention it before?
I, thought you might have known I was here. You know, because breakfast?
I was just quite right. You're clearly lacking in vim. So much that I didn't notice your presence.
Thanks.
Of course, I could deduce the reason perfectly well with some simple observations.
What?
Let's see. Yes. For example, your tousled hair this morning with all its unruly spikes. Clearly it can be deduced, therefore that.
Let me stop you there, Mr. Sholmes, because I think I can see where this is going. My hair always looks like this. It always has, ever since we first met, in fact.
Oh, really? How interesting. It just doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Ha 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 ha.
Thanks again. It crossed my mind recently. It's been 6 months now.
6 months?
Since I was forbidden from working in court. So I've been wondering how much longer I'm going to be banned. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, well that would explain why you seem rather glum. Don't you agree, Hurley?
Did you say something, Iris? Ah, back to moping? What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He seems even more down in the dumps than me.
I know, and the Great Exhibition has opened. You think he'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go see it together?
I want to, of course I do, but I can't. Not for the time being.
Why not?
Why not? Why not? Because I'm a great detective after all.
So you're embroiled in some tricky case that you can't be distracted from? Is that it?
I don't remember hearing that you're working on a case, Hurley.
I suppose I should try to find out what's going on. It been 6 months ago. Half a year ago now, I took on the defense of a young girl in a trial heard at the Old Bailey. What at first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at a London pawnbrokery turned out to be one part of a much more far-reaching plot that involved the British government. During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable, yet at the same time, unforgivable mistake. So this is the end of the first game that he's referring to.
Well, it's failed me. This situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, my lord.
I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial.
Of course, my lord. In the end, I had my right to represent people in court revoked. I was told I had to spend my time in research and study, so that's what I've been doing.
You have, haven't you, Runo? Reading all those big fat tomes about British law up in your room, and the notes about Mr. Sholmes' old cases.
Brewing Iris' special blends of tea, fetching my daily bread for me. You've become something of a manservant around here. Salt on the silverware next, Master Naruhodo. Well, I'm thinking of going to ask the powers that be to reconsider, especially Lord Strongheart. at the British Supreme Court on Whitehall.
Lord Strongheart?
Ah, that delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favorite fellow. He's not mine either, but he's a man I have to talk to. He's the only one who can grant permission for me to start working in the courts again. I came to Britain to become the best lawyer I could. And I can't do that just sitting around here. The whole of London has been swept up in this great exhibition, hasn't it? The most advanced science, the most modern technology, and the finest works of art and feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things. And the world will be watching.
Oh, do you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of those lovely balloons.
Look down on? Do you mean those things fly?
Yes, of course. They fly high in the sky and they don't even need wings to do it. All you need is hot air.
But how? How does hot air have anything to do with flying? It makes no sense. I can't understand it at all.
That's true of a lot of new scientific discoveries. Most people can't understand them at first. But in 100 years' time, all these things will just be common knowledge.
I suppose they might be.
Mind you, some of the science being demonstrated seemed very questionable. If something went wrong on the open experimentation stage yesterday, apparently, there was a huge explosion. Still, I wish I'd seen it though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scam experiments really are.
Says the innocent 10-year-old girl. See here. Every page of this paper carries some article or other about the great exhibition. But the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That is my proper atmosphere. The Great Exhibition newspaper, a newspaper containing various articles about the world-leading science and technology on show at the Great Exhibition being held in London. Yeah, common knowledge. I definitely remember why hot air causes lift. Oh man. Well, it's just that hot air rises, but I guess I don't really know the scientific explanation as to why hot air rises. I'm thinking. Wait, I remember a novelist. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I remember how the hot air balloon works, but I don't really remember why hot air rises, I think. Every article on the front page is news about the Great Exhibition. Local experiments to demonstrate brand new scientific ideas, cultural exhibits from around the globe. It's also positive and hopeful about the coming century. We must all go to see it properly before too long. And that's the guy. London Crystal Tower. Great Exhibition of all nations. Man, this would have been so cool back in the day. So many glowing reports about the Great Exhibition and everything that's going on there. Other than this gloomy looking one, that is. Wait, what?
What's the matter, Bruno?
Oh, the Reaper attacked? The Reaper attacked.
That's Lord Van Zieks. This would be what Mr. Sholmes was talking about. Does he know any more, I wonder?
Ruffians aim to intimidate a man of justice. Lord Van Zieks and compatriot cornered. Interesting. The lost cat. Shadows cast behind? Is that a metaphorical way of referring to the back of the newspaper? Your gloomy mood. Are you investigating a particularly tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes? Lost cat! I think it's just less dense. Okay. That makes sense. You could say that, I suppose. Nothing more to add? Nothing more to add? That's not like you. What sort of case is it? Shh. Quiet, Mr. Naruhodo. We must not discuss it here. You never know who might be listening.
You're acting very strangely, Hurley.
What do you mean, Iris?
Well, usually. The more mysterious and complicated the case is, the better Hurley's mood.
Ah.
Is it really a case that's bothering you?
Iris, please. You mustn't exercise your astute powers of observation and deduction on me without invitation. Remember what I always say. Put yourself in the shoes of the individual about whom you're making deductions.
You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes? Never mind. Once I've had a cup of tea, I must make my way at once to the crime scene. That was a deep sigh. It says in the paper that Lord Van Zieks was attacked. That's terrible. You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bailey, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact. Yes. Prosecutor Barak Van Zieks. They say that if the Reaper is the prosecutor in a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. Even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in its sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short. London's finest rogues always find ways around the law. They'll stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics as these cannot save them from the hand of the Reaper. As you've experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I've seen the Reaper's retribution at work. Many of these criminal rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die. If a leader among the fraternity is seen to have been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really, the capital has a never-ending supply of such scoundrels. So, do you mean Lord Van Zieks has been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time? He's quite an accomplished combatant, you know. He doesn't take these attacks lying down, although it seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time. Oh my goodness. Is he alright then? Is Lord Van Zieks hurt? My dear fellow, how on earth would I know?
Well, in the article here it says, a SWAT of Lord Van Zieks is and his condition all be revealed in tomorrow's morning edition.
Ah, I see. Well,
We shall have to be patient then. No, I can't wait until tomorrow.
in that case, you shall have to inquire with somebody in the know.
But who?
Lord Strongheart, perhaps. Well, I must be leaving now.
Yes, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes.
Ha! You really are a shameless liar sometimes, my dear fellow.
What?
You seek to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? Well, you would be wasting your time.
Thought hadn't crossed my mind, but now I'm wondering where you're going.
Ha 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 ha. Well then, see you later indeed.
He's so weird. Listen to him. He's still laughing on his way out of the door. Ah! Alright then, Bruno. Let's get going.
What's with that costume? Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Iris, what are you wearing?
I've got change to go to the Great Exhibition. You're going to take me.
What? But I was just about to go to the Supreme Court.
Oh, well, that sounds fun too. You're going to take me there then.
Alright, fine. Just lower that weapon, would you?
Of course. And after the Supreme Court, then we'll go to see the Great Exhibition.
Okay. New location has been added. Let's go to the Lord Chief Justice's office. Balloon hat is the future of personal transportation. Oh man. Hat air balloon. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. 22nd October, British Supreme Court. Lord Chief Justice's office. It's been about 6 months now since I was last here. But some things never change. Like the sense of foreboding I always seem to feel in this place. It doesn't seem to be bothering Iris at all, though. She's happily reading over there.
Oh, I love this place. I always find so many interesting books here.
Of course. I was forgetting that you've been here before. By the time we came here 6 months ago. Once Susato-san was given the news that she was to return to Japan. Ah, I understand you wish to speak with me. Oh, Lord Strongheart. I trust you've been keeping well? Let's see. Since you've arrived and requested an audience, it's been 4 hours, 32 minutes and 26 seconds. I've kept you waiting a while. My apologies. Oh, no, not at all. I like nothing more than standing around staring into space. Good to know. Good to know that doesn't appear to bother him at all. Male Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of London. He's the man who allowed me to start practicing as a defense lawyer when I arrived in Britain as a student. You need only savor the air for a moment in his grand office to understand his preeminent status. As you will be aware, the Great Exhibition of London is now underway at last. We're extremely busy as a result, policing the grounds, guarding the new technologies, dealing with petty crime. And furthermore, as of next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium. Oh, I've not heard about that. Investigating authorities from 40 countries around the globe will be taking part, including your own land. Forensic science is the future. The world must embrace it. As we're the hosting nation, I have much to do. It is my highest priority. If others must wait for my attention as a result, so be it. Well, it's nice to know where I stand. So, you wish to consult with me? Of course. I can very well imagine what this is about. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, my lord. I want to be allowed to start working as a defense lawyer again in court. That's what brought me here today, but actually, something else is playing on my mind as it happens.
You know, just take a deep breath and come out with it.
Permission to work. I actually came here today to ask for your permission. Go on. 6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked and I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened, but the thing is, it made me understand what it really means to defend somebody under the rules of a foreign justice system. And I desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. Here it comes. I'm sure you haven't forgotten your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriot. This was never your intended role. Well, that's true. The Japanese government actually sent my best friend on the study tour, not me. It should have been Kazuma. He was so determined to bring change to our own justice system at home. That was his calling. If that tragic accident hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here in this office now. Mr. Asuke was my best friend, you see. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I have to fulfill his calling for him. His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling? Sorry? The mission with which that young law student was charged. What do you suppose it really was? What do you mean? Mission? He's not making any sense. Never mind. I've read all the reports you've submitted over the past 6 months. It's clear to me that you regret your actions, and have been studiously obeying your revised instructions. Do you mean... As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful news, Runo.
In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mock your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope. Of course. Please tell me more. A curious affair. You described it as a curious affair. Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. Are you aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Exhibition yesterday? Oh, no.
Yes, I read about it. A professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment.
Oh, they're from Germany, okay.
Let me see, how was it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think.
Instantaneous kinesis? As in moving things with a click of the fingers?
That's right. That's just what my herba blends need. A dash of devil may care.
Whatever the serious accident was exactly, it's clearly captured Iris's imagination. It's an unfortunate business. A large explosion engulfed the public experimentation stage and a man lost his life. A certain Mr. Odie Asman, an investor and a well-known figure in society. A large explosion.
A man died?
The man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Harebrain. He was detained immediately after the incident and is due to appear in court tomorrow. On the charge of murder. What? Murder? If you intend to take on his defense, you should hurry to meet with him at the prison. There is very little time left for you to carry out any kind of investigation. With the Great Exhibition, a scientific experiment gone wrong, and murder? I feel out of my depth before I've even started. Still.
We should go to the prison straight away then, and try to meet with this German professor, don't you think?
Definitely. Ah, yes. One more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper. Oh, with Lord Van Zieks. How? Forensic Science Symposium. All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Exhibition. And next month, the largest and most important of them will take place at last. The International Forensic Science Symposium. It does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it? I just got that hat air balloon. That was good. Oh. Oh, man. Exactly. London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling rate. So it's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible. Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it? Exactly. The future of policing. Ah! Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. Oh dear, that's alarming. Exactly. It's extremely alarming. Ah! If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure the numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. I can cite 12 solid arguments and 223 individual reasons to support my claim. Sorry? By the way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail everyone now. What?
Oh, how fascinating!
It all began 15 years ago. I was... And he died. And that more or less sums up my feelings on the matter. In the simplest of terms, of course. Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division within Scotland Yard. That is my mission. Oh, right, yes. That's wonderful. Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be. Iris isn't paying attention at all. She's got her nose in another book now.
Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful?
I actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. What if I present this? Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this? Reports of the overwhelming success of the Great Exhibition, of course. No, not that. The story on the back page. What story? The Reaper attacked. Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not?
Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he?
There's no need for concern. Lord Van Zieks would not be so easily dispatched, I assure you. Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know. Very well. If it interests you. It does, strangely. Van Zieks' condition. Fortunately, Lord Van Zieks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter. But that's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked, though? Do we know? It's related to events that occurred a month ago. the leader of one of the capital's criminal organizations, was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zieks. But the man was acquitted. I have no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes. Large sums of money? A deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday. But you're suggesting that was a work of the Reaper, surely? The victim's henchman certainly seemed to think so. It was a man by the name of Asman. Mr. Odie Asman.
Did you just say Asman? That's the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Exhibition.
Yes, known publicly as an investor, but in reality, the head of a significant criminal organization.
Unbelievable.
I wonder, could I ask you something, Lord Strongheart? Try me.
Why do you use Lord Van Zieks as a prosecutor?
All criminals who manage to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom. And fearful of their fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zieks first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is a Reaper in that sense, but still. Something's clearly going on here. I have Van Zieks work for the prosecution service for 2 reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials are nothing to do with him.
That doesn't make any sense. How can you explain the way so many have died, if not by someone's hand?
Van Zieks may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper, but he is no killer. So he will continue to prosecute on himself of the crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues may be starting to fidget.
11 hours late? That's
Quite something. The meeting already started when I arrived back here for this engagement with you. So lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man. I'm sure it's not for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons.
Oh, yes. Where would I find Lord Zieks? Lord Van Zieks now?
I would assume he's at his office.
Right. I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth.
Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Harebrain's defense entirely in your hands.
Of course, yes. Thank you very much, my lord.
Alright, let's get out of here. Oh man, I don't know how to do a German accent. 22nd October, local prison cell 11. What's a German accent sound like? I don't even know. I have to think about it. The warden said cell 11. That's this one.
Oh, there's someone curled up in a ball in the back of the corner. Look.
What's his name again? Professor Albert Harebrain. Was it? Wasn't it? Excuse me. Professor Harebrain. Oh wait, I just have to sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Isn't he German? Oh, let me think. Da, ist und... Okay. Maybe I can do this. But I don't know if it's just gonna sound Russian or something. I don't know. Who are you? I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a defense lawyer.
A lawyer?
Wasn't something I said.
A lawyer, you say?
You would be here about the experiment.
Are you going to defend my hypothesis?
I have no idea where I'm going with this accent. I'm sorry. I have to practice it. I'll practice it some other day. You might have been thinking about Russian. I think you were. Okay. Anyways, we'll just scrap that for now. I have to listen to it. I have no reference in my brain, so it's just gonna sound messed up.
Yesterday's demonstration. That magnificent demonstration was... It was an out-and-out success, by anyone's calculations. But despite that, no one listens. No lawyer believes in the science. When it's explained, they all leave at high velocity.
Ha. Now, it's probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while, too. Yesterday's demonstration. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday.
The papers have called it a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in the explosion, didn't he?
Arg! Yes, you could interpret the results that way if you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense. The experiment was a failure, but at the same time, it was a great success. You've lost me. I saw it with my own eyes, right there in front of me. Mr. Asmund was spontaneously disassembled. Until then, everything was going exactly as my calculations had predicted. At that point, he would have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis. However, the machine exploded and Mr. Asmund, in fact, perished. Yes, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure. So, what you're really saying is, the large explosion that killed Mr. Asmund was an accident, correct?
But the bigwigs had you arrested on suspicion of murder.
I was responsible for the man's death. That is the immutable truth here. And for that, I wish to be punished at once. But murder? Never in a million years. It was an accident, simply an accident. I see.
Hurley and I were talking this morning, you know. He said the situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or murder.
How exactly?
Well, if it was really an accident, then the professor's machine would be kept in protective custody.
On what grounds? Ah, yes, it's newly established here in Britain. The Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. That one passed me by.
But if the case is treated as a murder, then they'll say my machine
was a murder weapon, and they'll be able to pour it over as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My purchase hypothesis will be stolen. The machine must be protected from that at all costs. That's why an imperative this whole incident is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial. I see now. Instantaneous kinesis. So, in short, there was a terrible accident at the Great Exhibition Showground yesterday. Yes, or rather no, the devil's in the details. Strictly speaking, there was a terrible explosion. It sounds the same to me.
You were demonstrating super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, weren't you? How fascinating.
Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds. So it must be possible, using the sufficiently high voltage, to break those bonds and beam the particles through space. That's it in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see? It's my amazing hypothesis. Hypothesis? Gosh, that's unimaginably high-level science. Oh, but dare to imagine it. Dare to dream of such incredible technology. Just think, one moment I could be here in the cell, and then next I could be at the Great Exhibition again. Well, yes, that would be incredible. And the next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at a great Parisian theater, say. The possibilities are endless. The whole of our vast planet would be in reach. So, no more hiding in wardrobes on rocky seas for 50 days.
I don't really see it like that.
What do you mean, Iris?
Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really seem vastly more, would it? I think it would feel like it had shrunk.
My word! That's exactly right! What are the implications? What does it mean?
Oops. That got Professor Bunnybrain all really worried by the look of it.
Clearly this is yet another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose. The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works. But without a practical demonstration, it means nothing. And that's always the fly in the ointment.
Because practical demonstrations cost a lot of money. Money that young scientists like you don't have.
I wanted to divide people into tiny pieces to better transport their bodies. Julie is a murderer. No. Not like that.
That's exactly it, yes. Hurley's always complaining about it. He says the government should invest more in science.
Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Asmund. The victim who died in yesterday's terrible accident, you mean? The victim. Full name on the man who died in yesterday's accident was Mr. Odie Asmund, wasn't it?
What exactly was your relationship with the man? He first visited me in my laboratory in Germany a year ago now. He said he wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I thanked my lucky stars. I see. So you hadn't really known each other until then. Money for scientific research. I'm so envious. As far as I was concerned, the man was an angel.
Oh, really?
An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund a practical demonstration of my hypothesis for presentation at the Great Exhibition. And if that went well, I could expect additional financial support for my research from the British government. Mr. Asman provided me with money and an exceptional engineer. He produced a machine to my precise specifications. But then, your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion. As you can see, I owed everything to Mr. Asman. I would never have thought of taking the man's life.
Well, he seems genuine enough. I don't think he's lying.
How can this have happened?
You must feel awful. As well as losing the man's life, the Crystal Tower was greatly damaged too.
I know what happened. It must have been that.
That?
The day before the demonstration, I had my usual meal of frankfurters at the hotel restaurant. When I paid the bill, they gave me 3 shillings too much in change. But instead of saying anything, I just slipped the coins into my pocket. They're still there now. It's divine retribution for my wrongdoing. That's what this is.
For a scientist, he has some very logical anecdotes. Long and logical. Okay, I guess there's nothing else we have to say. Oh, we can't even examine either, okay. Let's visit Lord Benzeek's. 22nd October. Prosecutor's office.
Ooh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office?
Yes, it appears so.
It sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere.
Oh, is that... What the heck? That hooded figure was so still, I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. What are you doing here? Ah! Oh, that's... Wait, that is him, right? He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well. I am. So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other? Oh, that's not him. Okay, good. No punishment is taking place here. Oh. That's my apprentice. And he's sitting there, of his own free will. I didn't know you had an apprentice. Must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. Oh, dang. He's very able in combat. A requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? The Reaper. I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming, that is, such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms. Last night's attack. Lord Strongheart said that the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack. True, carried out by the henchmen of O.D. Asman's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably, some hoped to kill me before that happened. O.D. Asman. He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers, a global investor. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhand means, via his criminal activities.
And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Miss Reaper.
But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances. It was the most unusual cause of death. I know about that. It was a super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Mr. Asman died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion. Correct. You think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you?
Well, no. That does seem a little far-fetched. If the man really is the fabled Reaper, then he has to be innocent of this particular death at least.
It's strange how this has worked out, hasn't it, Bruno? I mean, what's with you taking on the professor's defense for the trial tomorrow?
What? You're going to be defending him?
Oh, yes, that's right. Though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest.
Albert Harebrain.
That's right. Do you know him by any chance?
Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together.
You're... What? Oh. Interesting. I'd understand that Professor Harebrain was from Germany, though.
Harebrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research, that's all.
So we're students together. Oh, okay. So I guess he can have a British accent.
I was in the Faculty of Law, of course, and he in Science, so our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along, though I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form. And with you, of all people, representing him.
Ugh. What if I make it out of this office alive? He's actually been charged with murder, it seems.
Yes, I know, because the prosecution will be handled by me.
By you? But you made it sound as if you and the professor had been friends.
We are friends, it's true.
Then why would you do this?
If the Reaper is the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed.
What's Van Zeke's thinking? The Reaper's identity. What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean...
I'm a crown prosecutor and immortal like any other. I'm no demigod.
But they all died, haven't they? The people you've prosecuted, I mean. Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or an acquittal.
Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society. People without question deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them.
But it's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all.
Nor was Ginny. In fact, she's ever so hardworking now.
I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work.
But Strongrat said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way.
But you're attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true.
The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, the number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially.
Oh.
It would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives.
Do you mean to say?
I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly and with honor.
But it's putting you in danger. You can be killed.
If that is my fate, let God decide.
Lord Van Zeeks. Lord Van Zeeks, about the article in this paper.
Ah, yes. It seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me.
Looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had to run away, though.
Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them.
There's someone else fighting alongside of you, it seems. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it?
As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice.
Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him.
Your apprentice. He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. So you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose.
Ah, like you are to Hurley then, Runo.
I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with a great detective. He's currently compiling reports about last night's attack. It looks like he's wearing some kind of mask. On Lord Strongheart's orders. Nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity. But why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual? Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There will be a good reason for his actions. I hope you're right. Oh. Oh, hello. Ah. The task is complete. Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs. Nice to meet you. Back to work again. That was really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed, and yet somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter. Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. Oh, I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice, anyway? Oh, no, I mean... Sorry, I didn't mean to. Well, he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. It couldn't be. Wait, what? Huh? What? Huh? What? Huh? What? Oh, yes. There's something I've been meaning to ask you. Oh, what's that? That Nipponese man. Is he faring well? Sorry? The one arrested twice, in succession 6 months ago. With the stoop, and the mustache, and the jitters.
Ah, Mr. Natsume, you mean? I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Runo.
He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion here. There, don't you? There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case.
Yes, thank you for the advice. And for the conversation.
Can't believe he's asking after Tosuke-san. After a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried.
I never imagined that Mr. Rebo would be friends with such a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books.
Mad scientist? Ah, you mean Professor Hairbrain? Yes, it might be worth quizzing the professor about this relationship with Lord Van Zieks, I think. Interesting. So there's nothing else about that. Let's look around his room. I'm very curious. Oh, all of his bottles and wine glasses. Look at that fine collection of hallowed chalices and bottles neatly lined up there. My hallowed bottles are filled with the essence of the finest grapes from the finest vineyards I visit. And I personally oversee these chalices being made by the finest crystal craftsmen in the world.
And yet you throw them around in court like they were worthless. That's exactly what I was thinking. Why do you do that?
Yes, because this imbecile is so unimaginably and repeatedly wide of the mark sometimes. Oh, so it's my fault? Oh. Before you open your mouth next time, you should consider the poor artisans whose work you defile. So, it's my fault? Silly me, how could I have ever thought otherwise? Oh man, that's funny. Ha 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 ha. Lord Van Zieks' desk, look, it's so stylish.
And that's a marble chess set beside it.
Marble? Well, this guy's freaking rich. Chess, that's a Western version of our Japanese shogi game, isn't it? You know, I'm actually quite good at shogi problems.
Oh, really? You'd probably like chess problems in that case.
I'd love to challenge Lord Van Zeke sometime. To a bout of shogi problems.
If you only really want to challenge yourself, you can always do that at your own home.
Boom, 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 boom. Anything else fun in here? Oh.
Ooh, look! It's the scale model of the Great Exhibition Showground.
Oh, cool. That's amazing. I wonder why it's here.
Perhaps he made it to take his mind off the sadness and being too busy to attend in person.
Or perhaps he's too embarrassed to queue up for a ticket. Surely it's obvious that I'm using it to investigate. As an investigative aid. You nippies have no business painting others as overly reserved. I really didn't think he'd overhear that. So this giant picture. Who's this? That portrait really dominates the room, doesn't it? It's a very majestic outfit and pose, but sadly, whoever painted it didn't do a very good job of capturing Lord Van Zeke's facial features.
Yes, you're right. I mean, it's not far off, but the artist has exaggerated his subject's handsomeness, I think.
Ah, that reminds me. I heard Emperor Napoleon of France ordered artists to make him look more attractive when they painted him.
How vain. That's really not an attractive quality in a person, is it?
The portrait does not depict me. Surely that's immediately obvious. Oh, then who is it? Steal one of his chess pieces so he can't play. That'd be so infuriating. Oh my gosh. Petty crime. The worst of it. I wonder who this is then. Maybe his, like, his brother or his, ancestor or something? Can't look at this. There's bats in his room. What the heck? Oh my gosh.
Wow! They were bats! Yes, the Reaper's familiars, I expect.
What about the mute man in the dark cloak? I thought he was a familiar. She's not the flying kind.
He must be a dear friend of Miss Reaper, then.
I think the familiar idea is more likely. Scary though, either way. Freaking bats? What the heck? And all those ancient casts lining the wall there.
Caskets in the Reaper's chamber? Or are they caskets?
You don't think all those people who escaped the conviction in court are lying inside them dead, do you? What ridiculous notions are going through your head, man? This is my collection of fine vintages. Oh, yes, of course. Thank you for cleaning that up.
Bruno and I were just musing to ourselves. Don't mind us, Mr. Reaper.
I wouldn't, if you hadn't invited yourselves to my office to talk nonsense within my earshot. Bad man. Bad man. Dude, he's like a freaking wine connoisseur. He's rich, his apprentice needs to know how to fight, and his bats? Oh my gosh, you've solved the mystery. He's actually Batman. It really looks like a punishment to me.
I've never seen someone sitting like that before.
He hasn't moved a muscle since we arrived. Do you think perhaps he's dead?
If he was dead, Bruno, he wouldn't be sitting up, would he?
Well, anyway, dead or alive, he's not overly approachable, is he? I don't think he's gonna talk to us.
He's not dead.
Oh my gosh, he is actually Batman! Anyways. Alright, I guess we better go. Go back to prison and ask about, Lord Van Zeke's. The Reapers of varsity years. I understand Lord Van Zeke's is a friend of yours from your university days.
Yes, that's right. He was studying law whilst I was studying science.
What was he like back then?
A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, a nice, all-around nice fellow, really.
Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted, merciless prosecutor, Baron Van Zeke's. What was he like when he was at university?
Talk about a leading question, Runo. As I said, an unassuming and extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, He is the little darling of the Van Zieks family, with all its great aristocratic origins. I didn't realize he had quite such noble blood.
A little darling.
It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learned what he'd become. The Reaper of the Bailey, no less.
Yes, that's right.
I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation.
Really? What sort of event?
I'm sorry, but I don't know anymore. I wasn't in the country at the time. I was in Germany already.
Oh, yes, of course. If he's heard all about the Reaper, I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zieks will be the prosecutor in the court tomorrow. So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying? You had no intent to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work. Is that correct?
As correct as 2 squared is 4. I swear it. Yes, it's true that the man perished in a machine of my invention. So I know that I'm far from blameless in all this, but still, I would never use my discoveries, my inventions, to take a person's life. Not in a centillion years. I'm a man of science. That's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe my hypothesis? Science is the pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that, all my life.
I'm afraid I don't know much about science or your theories, but I do believe you, and I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I'm a man of the law. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please.
When I came to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, none of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything.
Thank you for that, Professor.
And thank you for advance, for defending me tomorrow in court. Alright, Runo. It's time. Time to visit the Great Exhibition.
Sorry?
Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose that's true. Time to investigate at last. Alright, let's go. Experimentation stage. The experimentation stage at the Great Exhibition in the scene of the crime. The event must be his parents' deaths. That's his origin story? Maybe. But they also mentioned that he had a Japanese friend. So I think something happened to his Japanese friend. That was only mentioned like once, though. At the beginning of the 2nd episode, I think. Either that, or that has something to do with like a huge mystery that like no one's talking about. 22nd October, the Great Exhibition grounds, foot of the Crystal Tower. Ugh. The showgrounds are a little too big for my liking. We've been walking around in dense crowds for 2 hours now, and I feel myself swooning 3 times.
There are a lot of people, aren't there? I've almost been trodden on 3 times too.
Be careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let go of my hand. Finally made it through to the throng, so by the look of it. Here we are underneath the public experimentation stage where the explosion happened yesterday. Alright, let me sip some water. What's that? I can hear voices from up on the stage. It sounds like an argument.
Alright, I've had it with you this time. I'm warning you. I'll arrest you in a minute. Oh yeah? Go on then, Inspector. Give it a shot. You ain't got no evidence and you know it.
Oh, it's Ginny! Ha ha ha! Wait, I know those voices.
You got a cheeky little mouth on you, young lady. But a night in the cells will teach you the manners. Just try it, I dare you. You want that bag of chips rammed down your throat?
Yoo-hoo! Grexy! What are you doing up there?
It's you! Here! You're here! Here you are! You! Here!
Your ladyship! Oh yeah, I forgot. He's a huge fan of her.
How are you, your ladyship? I do hope you're well, your ladyship.
Does that make her 3 times a lady?
I'm not well at all. It's far too busy everywhere. I wanted to ride in a balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue.
Unbelievable. I'll go and have a word for you at once, your ladyship.
You'll be flying as high as a kite in no time once I pull some strings for you.
Tobias Gregson, an inspector at Scotland Yard. Until recently, he was suspended from duty, but it appears he's back in action now. He's actually quite well known, appearing as he does in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. And for that reason, he can't say a word wrong to the story's author, Iris. But there are limits, surely. Or there should be.
Hush, sunshine.
Sorry.
What gives then? Don't tell me you're on this case.
Yes, I'm acting for the defense. Oh, excuse me.
So we're here to investigate.
Dear me, that's the situation, is it?
Is it really that troubling?
Okay, measly 5 bob. Is that all you got? You're a lawyer, ain't you? You can stand to carry a bit more copper around your pockets, Mr. Naruhodo.
What? Hey, that's my last bit of spending money, that is.
I can have it back, but I'll have to charge you for all the bother. 3 bob.
This is Gina Lestrade, a pickpocket, or diver, born and bred in the East End of London. In the case that led to my own suspension 6 months ago. This is a young girl I was defending in court.
What's your problem, mate, Odo? A diver, pickpocket? What's with all the name calling? You want a bag of chips rammed down your throat and all, do ya?
I thought you were proud to be a diver, Gina. You were just arguing with Inspector Gregson about it, weren't you? I assumed you'd been up to your usual tricks here at the showground.
That ain't no way to talk to a lady, Odo. Half a year's a long time. People can change. I'm an apprentice now, learning to be a Scotland Yard detective. So I have to call me what everyone else does. An Inspector Lestrade now.
Inspector? The badge is homemade, surely.
The inspector pot isn't entirely accurate. No one calls it that. For what it's worth, anyway. And investigating is off the cards for all of us.
What's that supposed to mean?
Right, well, I'll be back up top. You hold down the fort here, alright?
Right, sir.
This raises a lot of questions. Hey, we can talk to Gina. About Gina. It was 8 months ago that I first encountered Gina, in connection with the case I was working on. At the time, she was living in the East End with a group of other orphans. She helped all of them survive by pickpocketing, but then she got embroiled in a murder.
I had a lot of time to think in prison. I realized I couldn't go on like I was. The time wasn't working out.
And she didn't go to prison for murder, but she went to prison because obviously we defended her. She was not guilty of that, but she was in prison for, I guess, stealing and stuff. If I remember correctly, I'm not sure though. I don't remember exactly.
Oh, I'm so pleased to hear it, Ginny. Well done.
So you went from being a pickpocket to a detective?
You got it. Good, isn't it? Inspector Lestrade. Sounds like some out of a book, eh?
Talk about a sea change.
And then there's Iris's old man to think about.
Iris's father, you mean?
Yeah, I promised her, didn't I? I said I'd get all the police forces around the world to pull all the stuff we're looking for him.
Small promise then, nothing serious.
Oh, Ginny, you're so sweet.
So anyway, that's how I had a go at the test for Scotland Yard.
Only trouble is, I don't read so well, do I?
Just a small problem, nothing serious.
And that's when Hurley approached Gregson and asked for help. So the inspector said he'd take full responsibility for Ginny and made her a sort of apprentice.
That was very magnanimous of Inspector Gregson, and brave.
Well, you know Hurley. He enjoys finding ways to make people do what he wants.
The very detective likes digging for dirt, in other words.
So, the long and short of it is, if you've got questions about the case, you can ask Inspector Lestrade.
Alright then, Inspector. Actually, there's still a big mystery surrounding Gina, isn't there?
Ooh, what, Bruno, what?
Well, 6 months ago, Gina was a defendant in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper. The trial in which she was found not guilty, and yet here she is still.
Come on, you're not still on about that, are you? Legend of the Reaper or whatever it's called. Cool. You don't have to worry, Odo.
If I didn't have half worry, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of you left.
It's like I told you before, isn't it? The Reaper's kinda like him upstairs. So he knows what I'm like on the inside. That I ain't really done nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong might be stretching a point.
What about Mr. Natsume in Japan? He's perfectly fine, isn't he?
Well, that's true. Perhaps the Reaper is more discerning than I thought.
Exactly. So I ain't worried. I'm totally fine. Cool. It was out of this world, it was. The brainy bloke pulled a bunch of levers in on his machine and it suddenly started billowing smoke. Then it just went pop. I ain't seen a better experiment here yet.
Sorry?
You mean you saw it, Ginny, with your own eyes? Yeah, of course. The boss is in charge, yeah, ain't he? Of course keeping everything running smooth, I mean.
The boss being the Inspector Gregson, I suppose. That's going to take some getting used to.
So, all I have to say is that I'm on duty and I can do whatever I want to. Get this. I was up in one of the flying balloons when it happened, watching it from above. No! So lucky, Ginny. Maybe I should join Scotland Yard too. Yeah, do it. You know how to put the boss in his place already, right, Iris? You'll have no trouble at all. Then it's settled. When do I start?
Oh, no. You can't join Scotland Yard, Iris.
Well, see. Anyway, what I don't understand is this. If the machine exploded so spectacularly, how can Professor Bunnybrain and still be claiming that his experiment was a success?
Oh, right. Well, it was a success, in a way. It was? How could it have been? Successful experiment? Surely after the whole machine blew up, no one could call this experiment a success.
It's like I said, it did sort of work. I mean, yeah, there was a load of smoke and that whopping great bang. But where do you think they found the victim's body, eh? In the Crystal Tower over there.
What? In the tower?
You can see for yourself, can't you? Up there above the scaffold. Oh, were all the glasses broken, you mean? Yeah, the cage what the victim got in to start with. Really did get beamed through the air or whatever, and landed all the way over there. So, you see, it did kind of work, didn't it?
What? I don't believe it.
I mean, I don't get the ins and outs of it, but anything's possible, right? With science. Oh, I tell you what, you can have this. It's a plan of the experiment they drew up at the yard.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go on. I had 3 bob off here before, so fair's fair.
Yes, I didn't actually give that to you, did I? Sketch of the experiment. Experiment sketch. A diagram showing the relative positions of the Crystal Tower and Professor Hairbrain's machine that exploded. Alright, let's take a look. Ah, okay. Interesting. About the investigation. Something Inspector Gregson said before seemed a little strange.
What this worth anyway? Investigation is off the cards for all of us. Yes, naughty old Gregsy ran off after that without explaining himself. Oh, right, that. The boss said no one's allowed to investigate that weird machine what blew up yesterday. Well, that's not fair. We're representing the defendant.
In that case, could you at least tell us what you've learned from your investigations?
Nah, you're not getting it. We ain't allowed to investigate neither. Why? What did the boss call him again? The forensic investigation team, I think. Anyway, apart from them lot, no one's allowed to lay a finger on the scene. A bit funny, isn't it?
So even Scotland Yard's own detectives can't investigate. Yes, I've never heard something like that before.
Thought I could have a gander on the quiet though, but the boss caught me at it. You probably heard him giving me an earful about it before from down here, didn't ya? It's not bleeding fair.
I think you were giving him as much an earful back as I remember it.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think it's all them chips what make him so stubborn. You say something to him, Mother? Go on, see if you can get through to him.
He's up on the platform above us, isn't he? Where the machine that exploded is.
We can try, can't we, Reno? Grexy will listen to us.
You mean Grexy will listen to you, Iris? Ha ha ha. How do we get up there? Oh, I guess... Wait, can we examine? What's this, by the way?
Oh, look! What's this? A ripped piece of cloth.
It's not like any fabric I've ever seen before. It's very thick and stiff. It looks extremely durable.
It's canvas, I think, with some sort of rubber backing. The edges appear to be a bit charred as well.
Maybe that means it had something to do with the explosion.
Let's make a note of it while Ginny's mid-yawn.
Piece of green cloth, a torn piece of canvas-like material backed with rubber that was found under the experimentation stage at the exhibition ground. There are scorch marks at the edges. It looks like thick layers of thick canvas with a thick rubber lining of sorts. Never seen anything like it before, but applying Mr. Sholmes' methods, you might deduce it was part of a raincoat worn by someone who really, really didn't want to get wet. And the charring. It must have occurred when the person was struck by lightning. Or maybe not. Interesting. What's all this stuff? For some reason, the ground is damaged in the spot. Look. Almost as if there was a fire here or something.
Yes, if you look closely, there's some scattered ash and burnt embers too.
Well, I suppose there was a big explosion just above here. People probably wouldn't bat an eyelid at a small fire like this would have been.
I'm not sure we English are quite that laid back, Bruno. Ah, it looks like there's somebody dropped something behind that tree. Behind the tree just here.
Dropped or hid. What is this? Some part of the machine that exploded?
Maybe. It could have fallen from the platform above in the blast, perhaps. What's going on here?
Oh, nothing. I think I'll hang on to this just in case. Mysterious contraption. A very curious device found behind a tree under the experimentation stage at the exhibition grounds. Almost as if it had been hidden there deliberately. Interesting. Ah, there's some sort of lever here. Yeah, it looks like a crossbow. That's exactly what I was thinking. What is this? It looks like a cross between a bow and a gun. I think it's probably used for the same thing too. Crossbow. A weapon found hidden behind a tree under the experimentation stage. It turns out that it's a folding crossbow. Dang. Why the frick would somebody have a crossbow? Looks like you wind this around in order to draw the bowstring back and create tension. You must be able to fire arrows with a huge amount of force using this device then. In fact, I would imagine it's far more accurate and powerful than a Japanese longbow. I really had no idea what I was picking up when I spotted this at the exhibition grounds. Oh, wait, there's another thing I can look at. Here, let's open it up again. This part. This groove here must be where the arrows are loaded, I suppose. So I was right. It's a sort of bow with an automatic firing mechanism. This would be perfect for someone like me who catches his ear with the bowstring 2 times out of 3. In fact, if I had one of these, maybe I could have been Kazuma in Kyudo archery training. That's interesting. I wonder how many people practice archery in this current time. Okay, nothing else, I think. I'm very curious. Crystal Tower. It's certainly an apt name. It was built to be the focal point of the exhibition, and it definitely is, being so tall and with all the glass. I can't imagine a building like this ever being erected in Japan.
There are lots of exhibits inside the tower as well, apparently. Of course there's an observation deck, but there's also an art gallery, a zoo, and a museum. But how'd you have to queue for 3 hours just to get through the doors?
Well, at the moment, the shattered glass from the failed experiment may well be the biggest draw.
Next to the accident, the whole tower is shut.
Suddenly it's not the Crystal Tower anymore, but the Crystal Glass Shower.
Apparently everyone's taken to the skies now to look down on the disaster area from above instead. But it's a 3-hour queue to go in a balloon now.
Londoners must be very patient people. Ha 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 ha. Oh, we can look up like this, I see. Interesting. What about over here? These stairs obviously lead to the stage above. We should go up there and investigate the exact spot where the experiment was being conducted. Oh, I didn't mean to go there right now, but... Oops. 22nd October, the Great Exhibition Grounds, Experimentation Stage. So that's it, is it? The machine that blew up. Ooh, it must have been a magnificent explosion, and I've seen my fair share. You seen things like this before, you mean? Of course, Halley's always doing experiments like that end in a bang. In fact, in his own words, explosions are the very essence of chemistry. Ah, that might explain that smell of burning that frequently comes wafting up the stairs. One time, he made something that exploded with such force it took the roof off the building. I wish you'd been there to see it, Ryuno. It's hard to get too excited about that, given that I now live in the roof. Well, anyway, that's enough about that. It's time to investigate. Oh, look, Inspector Gregson is over there. He seems to be deep in thought about something, whilst eyeing up the machine carefully. Really? He just looks confused to me. Okay. Alright, I think I'll stop here now, because it is getting late, and there's a lot more to investigate, so we will continue with that next time.